Welcome back to the channel. It's LtBuzzLitebeer, and Starfield continues to amaze us all with just how truly vast this universe is. I'm now just shy of 120 hours in and discovering new pieces of information, locations, quest lines. It just keeps going on and on. With that in mind, here's another 15-ish tips, tricks, and secrets I've found since last episode, and we are covering all sorts of topics in this one, from smuggling to universal time, washing stolen items to tricks with your ship's boost drive. I can't thank you enough for your awesome levels of continued support for my Starfield uploads. The last episode of this series went up over 500,000 views, which blows my mind. And a quick disclaimer dropping in right here, this is a re-upload from this morning. I tend to live in a social bubble, so I wasn't paying attention to what would be considered spoilers. I've moved those two items to the end of the video along with a warning just in case you want to avoid those. And if you haven't yet done so, please hit subscribe and ring the notifications bell to receive my latest upload alerts. Likes, comments, shares are greatly appreciated. Chapters are available for an easy viewing experience, and here we go. Through your explorations, you will undoubtedly end up looting items that are not designated as available for looting, marking them as stolen. And while these items will not set off any planet contraband searches, if you're ever arrested or, say, taken in for a bounty, any of these stolen items will then be confiscated from your inventory, unless you learn to wash them. And this is really simple to do. Now, the best place to pull this off is at a trade authority vendor. I personally like using the Den and the Wolf system just outside of Alpha Centauri. There's also one at the Key space station orbiting Suvorov and the Crick system. Or you can also see the bartender at the Red Mile on Parima 3, plus there's other locations. Find any of your stolen items with the red square and arrow icon and then sell them to the vendor. Then, without leaving the vendor, buy those items back for the same amount of credits the vendor paid you. Now they will be clean, the red stolen icon will be removed, and you will not lose them should you ever be hauled in for a bounty. Next up are two bits related to space combat, and both are laser focused in on using the boost, which, unlike boost pack training, does not require you to spend a skill point to unlock. Now, boost is not only great for increasing our straight line speeds, allowing us to get from point A to B much faster, but it's also a very strong tool in space combat, and this is one I don't see a lot of pilots using to their advantage. When an enemy locks onto you and is about to fire a missile, you will hear this warning, as well as see the enemy missiles locked on warning flash up on your screens. Of course, we don't have the use of flares or countermeasures to guard against it, but we do have boost. A quick press of the boost button once you have been locked onto will break that lock on, preventing the enemy ship from being able to fire its missiles at you, and you can also spend 4 points into engine systems to gain a full enemy disengage perk while boosting. And the second item when it comes to boosting is how to regulate your boost consumption. Now, as soon as you press boost, your ship will accelerate up to maximum speed and stay there, consuming all the available boost until it runs dry. And this could be costly in fierce combat. When you just got done with a long burn, now you have no boost and multiple ships have just locked onto you, all with the intent of firing their missiles. So here's what you do. You only need short bursts of boost to break enemy lock-ons. So just after boosting and breaking that lock-on, pull back on your ship's speed for a split second. And this little deceleration, although tiny, will disengage the boost at the point you pull back on the speed, allowing it to stop boosting at a much higher point up on the boost bar and giving it a much smaller time to replenish back up to maximum. Trust me, this little change in using boost has saved my butt more than once, especially when I get jumped by 4 or 5 ships at once. This next one is not one many players know or even pay attention to, but planets can have differences in local time versus UT, or universal time, and this comes into play when you choose to wait or sleep in Starfield. Now, local time refers to the amount of time it takes the planet you're currently on to rotate around its sun. An hour will pass at the same rate no matter where your character is, but depending on how fast or slow your current planet is rotating, that could mean a lot or very little universal time has passed. Vendors rotate stock and replenish their credits every 48 hours UT, so universal time, and I have just depleted the credits here from the bartender on Parima 3. As I attempt to sleep to wait out the 48 hours, you see that 24 local hours only equals 10 hours universal time. So TLDR version here is that I had to sleep for a total of 116 hours here on Parima 3 to equal 48 hours UT, all so that the vendor would reset and regain all her credits. So, check over the planets or moons you are currently on, and ideally, if you were looking to pass the time in your favor, find one that has a higher UT than local time conversion. If you've ever tried to fast travel to a location on a planet and not been allowed to, as all the points of interest are grayed out, then this one's for you. Starfield's settled systems will scan your ship for contraband anytime you enter that settled system, and the grayed out points is telling you that you currently have contraband, either on your ship or your character, and you're going to have to pass through a planet scan after exiting a grav jump. Just dropping the contraband onto the floor of your spacecraft, or even placing it into the captain's locker, will not change those icons from gray to white, allowing you to fast travel. At this point, you've got several options, starting off with selling those pieces of contraband at a trade authority vendor before trying to re-enter a settled system. Here, I've just finished offloading all my contraband for credits. My character's inventory is now fully clean. I'm looking over that fast travel again, and now the locations have turned from gray to white. So, I should be good to pass through the contraband scan and land safely on the planet's surface. This in-game mechanic only works when you attempt a fast travel to a planet location, as just selecting a system will instantly place you into that contraband scan and possible arrest. Now, the second way to enter a settled system and pass a contraband scan is by investing some time into modifying your ship for smuggling, or by investing up to 4 points into the deception skill for 50% less effective contraband scans against your ship. But before you start modifying your ship and spending credits, verify it isn't already set up correctly by checking it out in the ship builder under your main stats of fuel, hull, and cargo, and if it's already modified, you'll see shielded capacity with a mass rating. Now, that doesn't mean you have a 100% chance of not being detected, just that your ship has some sort of shielded cargo hold available for smuggling. Now, the two places that you can purchase smuggling-related ship parts are either with the ship technician on the Key space station, located in the Crick system, and the second location is the ship services office on Parima 3. Yeah, the very same place that the Red Mile is located. Speak with Lon Anderson, and among his ship pieces, he will offer to sell you shielded cargo holds and scan jammers to boost your ability to avoid those contraband scans. Cargo holds can be placed basically anywhere on your ship, but the scan jammers can only be placed in locations that would also be available as weapon attachment points. And you know you're on the right track when you select an area of the ship, and the only two tabs to appear are Weapons and Equipment, with the scan jammers showing up in the latter. So, a few quick tips when it comes to setting up your ship for smuggling. Even when you install the very best multi-frequency jammers in bulk to your ship, that still won't guarantee you a 100% chance of not being detected. Also, detection chances go up the higher the mass of the contraband item is to reaching max shielded cargo capacity. So, if I was just smuggling one tiny vial of Aurora in a shielded cargo hold with a rating of 300, my chances of detection would be much lower than if I had a full shielded cargo hold piled high with crates and crates of contraband. Oh, and the final tip is to move your contraband over from your character's inventory to your ship's cargo hold before attempting to pass through the planet-side contraband scan, or all that shielding won't matter. Your location icons will appear white, but this pop-up will appear, alerting you of the upcoming scans, giving you a choice to add a detour. And even with 5 scan jammers, 2 shielded holds, and a small piece of contraband artwork, my chance to evade the scan was sitting at 89%, showing here as I approached Planet Jemison. But I was successful, and this is how you earn the I used them for smuggling achievement. And finally, EM, or electromagnetic weapons, are used in Starfield as non-lethal stun guns, incapacitating targets, and for those of you who have made it through the Ryujan Industries questline, you are familiar with this weapon type. But what players don't know about this weapon is that it basically has 2 fire modes. The first is to just aim and fire, which will send out a mild blast of energy, and it could take 4, 5, even 6 of these quick blasts to fully drop a target. But the second way to fire these weapons is to charge them up by aiming and holding down the fire button simultaneously, at which point you will see the weapon slightly shake around, indicating it is now fully charged. If you hit a target with one of these max charge shots, you stand a much higher chance of dropping them in a single shot. Now on Xbox, your controllers will vibrate once the shot is fully charged, but on PC, using mouse and keyboard, we get no indications. And I just stumbled into this one when I held down the fire button a little too long, dropping a target in one shot. Watch for the slight wiggle of the weapon, meaning it is fully charged, and then hit the target with that maximum power shot to drop them quickly. Okay, these final 2 items contain a few spoilers. The first is related to the Red Mile, and the second takes advantage of some new Game Plus hardware. So if you want to opt out, here is your warning. And as always, I appreciated you checking out the first part of this video. If you decided to stay, here's your countdown. 3, 2, 1. All right, here we go. Kicking this one off is a secret stash located on Parima 3, and more specifically within the fabled Red Mile. Start off at the beginning of the run and fight your way through the Red Mile Mauler beasts. They're not really that hard, making your way down to the beacon. And by the way, if you get lost along the route, first off, it is a freaking huge tower that says Red Mile on it, but you can also follow the sound of the techno music that's blasting through the speakers, and you'll eventually make it to the beacon and the button to press to begin your return journey and a successful completion of the mile. Don't press that button just yet because it tends to attract the beast to your location. Instead, head off the back right of this tower platform, and you may have to contend with a few straggler beasts down the way, but just a small ways down the path, you'll see a break in the rocks to your right. Once through, turn hard left, and you'll see a habitat with blood stains in the snow in front of it, and it is sealed by an expert level lock, so you'll need to at least have that level unlocked in lockpicking. Once inside, it will contain several weapons cases. I was lucky enough to loot a refined legendary Urban Eagle pistol. Of course, your loot will vary. And then, don't miss those contraband caches a little further in, stocked full of items that you can sell for a bunch of credits. I've also looked around the Red Mile arena quite a bit, and this is the best cache I have found so far. Now, just activate the Red Mile beacon back up by the tower and make your return journey back to the start of the level and receive the completion rewards before exiting. For those of you attempting to reach the far reaches of the galaxy, you're going to quickly find out that only the strongest ships have the necessary capabilities of reaching that far out into the unknown. Ship modifications will require a grav drive with a ton of range, along with a boatload of helium-3 as fuel, and some players don't have the credits and or patience to interact with the shipbuilder, and the chances of buying or looting ships with that light year rating is basically zero. There's also a way to lessen the resources strain by maxing out your astrodynamic skill, but there are so many other skills that are more beneficial to our character builds. But if you've already completed the main storyline and decided to become Starborn, you already have the Starborn Guardian spaceship. And while it may not be the absolute best in space combat, it excels at making insanely long grav jumps in one sequence, capable of crossing the entire Starfield universe in just one jump. Even the difficult-to-reach systems, normally requiring 3, 4, or even 5 jumps to reach, are no match for this ship, as it has insane amounts of fuel at its disposal. So, if you're like me and stored the ship as soon as a better-looking one came along, dust it off and start reaching out to the furthest reaches of the galaxy and unlocking those systems. And that's going to wrap up episode 3 of 15-ish secrets, tips, and tricks in Starfield. And if you missed the first 2 episodes, links to both can be found in the video description. Remember to hit subscribe and ring the notifications bell to receive my latest upload alerts. Likes, comments, shares are greatly appreciated. All my socials can be found in the video description. Shout out to the now over 162,000 of you that have stuck with me and hit subscribe. And a huge thanks goes out to my patrons and to those of you firing over those awesome YouTube super chats. Until the next one, this is Lieutenant BuzzLitebeer, signing off.